The night had started beautifully, the kind of evening when the sky turns a deep indigo and the first stars begin to shimmer like tiny promises overhead. But everything inside Jack Sullivan felt like it was shattering. He stood in the doorway of the restaurant in Seattle, staring down at the message he never expected to read. "I don't think this is working. I'm sorry." His long-planned dinner date, the one he thought might finally bring healing after a year of heartbreak, ended before it even began. And as he stepped out into the cool night air, he felt an ache settle deep in his chest, the kind that makes a man forget how to breathe for a moment. His whole world felt like it was collapsing until he lifted his eyes and saw her. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us what really matters, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps this channel grow and continue bringing you emotional stories like this one. She stood under a flickering streetlight, holding two small children close to her sides. Her hair, dark and slightly messy, clung to her face as though the night itself refused to let go of her struggles. In one hand she gripped a worn canvas bag, and in the other she held the trembling fingers of a little boy no older than 5. The girl beside her, maybe 7, was trying to be brave, but her chin quivered every few seconds. Their mother, Grace Wallace, looked like she had been trying to hold herself together for far too long. Jack had never seen them before. They weren't waiting for him. They weren't part of his story. But something about them pulled at him. Something raw, human, and painfully familiar, because heartbreak recognizes heartbreak, even in strangers. Grace kept glancing at her phone, wiping her cheek discreetly, as though hoping her children wouldn't notice. But children always notice the things parents try to hide. The boy tugged at her coat, mumbling something too soft to hear. She knelt down, kissed the top of his head, and tried to reassure him with a shaky smile. But her hands trembled, and even from a distance Jack could see she was losing the battle against her own tears. Jack found his feet moving toward them without his permission, guided by something deeper than logic, maybe empathy, maybe instinct, maybe the quiet voice in his heart that had been desperate for purpose ever since his own life fell apart a year ago. He stopped a few feet away, trying not to frighten them. Grace looked up, startled, and for a moment they just stared at each other. Two strangers, two wounded souls, standing under the same broken streetlight. Her eyes were red, her voice unsure, but she offered a polite nod as though still trying to maintain dignity even while unraveling. Jack returned the nod gently. As minutes passed, Jack learned through observation that the man they were waiting for, Grace's brother, had promised to pick them up, but the brother wasn't coming. Her texts remained unread, her calls unanswered, and the cold night was growing colder. Grace clutched her children closer as they shivered, their thin jackets no match for the breeze sweeping through the city streets. The restaurant behind them buzzed with warmth and laughter, an ironic contrast to the heaviness surrounding this small family. Something inside Jack broke at the sight. He had spent months grieving the loss of his previous relationship, hiding from the world, believing he had nothing left to offer anyone. But in this moment, watching Grace struggle to be strong for her children, he felt something awaken in him again. Something good, something protective, something deeply human. He quietly approached and offered his coat to the little girl, who hesitated until Grace nodded permission. The child wrapped herself in the oversized fabric, and a tiny smile flickered across her face. It was the smallest moment, but it hit Jack like a wave. Grace finally whispered, in a fragile voice, that they had been evicted earlier that day. The job she depended on cut her hours. She had nowhere to go tonight except a relative's home, and the relative had apparently decided not to answer the phone. Her eyes glistened with humiliation as she explained, apologizing even though she had done nothing wrong. Jack felt his heart twist painfully. He told her they could wait together inside the warm restaurant lobby. Grace hesitated, pride fighting against need, but eventually she agreed. Inside, the warmth immediately softened the children's stiff bodies. Jack bought them hot chocolate, not out of pity, but out of the simple kindness he wished someone had shown him in his darkest moments. The kids clutched their cups with grateful little hands, steam rising around their faces like soft halos. As they sat there, Jack realized he hadn't felt this grounded, this present, in a long time. The children giggled quietly, finally feeling safe enough to relax. Grace kept thanking him, voice trembling, eyes softening. Eventually, Jack called a trusted family shelter he volunteered with once a year during Christmas. By some miracle, there was a safe room available for Grace and her children. He arranged a ride through the shelter's transportation program, ensuring they wouldn't be alone. Grace's tears finally broke free, not from fear this time, but from relief. Before leaving, she placed her hand over her heart and looked at Jack with gratitude so profound it silenced him. "You saved us tonight," she whispered. Jack shook his head. He wanted to say "you saved me too," but the words lodged in his throat. When the shelter van arrived, the children hugged him tightly. Grace held his gaze for a long moment, her eyes saying everything her trembling lips couldn't. Then she stepped into the van, carrying her kids and a new sense of hope. Jack stood on the sidewalk long after the van disappeared, the night breeze brushing against him. His planned dinner may have fallen apart, but something far more meaningful had taken its place. For the first time in a year, he felt like he had purpose again. He wasn't empty. He wasn't alone. He was part of a bigger story, one where compassion still mattered and strangers could become lifelines. Before I end this story, please take a second to comment below. What would you have done if you were in Jack's place tonight? Jack walked down the quiet Seattle street, the sky now dotted with stars that looked a little brighter than before. His heart felt full, not because everything in his life was perfect, but because he had been able to give someone hope on a night when the world had tried to take it from them. And sometimes, that's enough to change everything. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful stories that inspire kindness, hope, and human connection.